It's time for Inside the L, the podcast covering all things LaSalle athletics and taking you behind the scenes. And now, here's your host, Ed LeFurge.
What's up going on, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the L, the podcast. I'm your host, Ed LeFurge. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Steam Fitters. We appreciate their continued support of LaSalle athletics. Head on over and subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube. All you have to do, search LaSalle Athletics on all three platforms. Got a fun one for you. I will be joined this episode by Lily Henshaw and Sarah Reed from our women's rowing program. The duo was a part of the Novice 8, which took home the silver medal at the 82nd Dad Vail Regatta on May the 8th. Without further ado, let's jump right into it with Lily and Sarah. Ladies, thanks so much for joining the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. The Dad Vail was a great experience, and I'd be happy to talk about it.
Let's start off with both of you telling us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay. Well, I'm a novice rower. This is my first year. I walked onto the team last year, but I didn't get to row because of COVID. So it was lots of fun getting to row with Coach Garbett, and I learned a lot, like actually getting experience in races. And I'm really enjoying the sport so far.
Lily, how about you?
So I'm a freshman marketing major at LaSalle. I'm first year on the team, first season on the team was this spring. So I'm excited to see some new things that we'll be able to do next year and moving forward.
And so I understand, Sarah, you're kind of a local kid from York, Pennsylvania. But Lily, you come all the way from Massachusetts. Tell us a little bit about what drew each of you to LaSalle.
I love the city. I love Philly. I was looking at a couple different schools in New York City and Boston, and Philly really drew me in, and so did LaSalle. So that's why I sort of ended up there.
Yeah, I had always grown up around Philly. Like, I'm 2 hours out of the city, but we visited a lot. I wasn't really looking at LaSalle, but my family is friends with an alum, and he eventually convinced me to visit, and then I just loved it. So I ended up coming.
We'll get a little bit more in depth on your experience a little later. But congratulations to you both on grabbing the silver medal at Dad Vail's. What was that event like for you guys?
I would say it was definitely our best race of the season. I felt like we all were moving together way more and way better than we ever had, and it felt really good to sort of put a unified front against all those other teams and come out second.
Yeah, I thought it was a great experience. We did races this semester, but it was like cool to be in a big regatta with lots of schools, and the school was very active, like tons of boat traffic, which isn't great, but it's like fun to see the river alive besides like the Philly schools. So I think it was really great, like feeling getting that medal, and I thought it was just really nice to feel like things were at least kind of normal for a little bit.
At what point did you guys kind of have an idea that you'd be taking home at least the silver?
I would say about halfway through the race, we sort of could all see behind us and saw two boats behind us. So that meant there was only one in front of us. And so we wanted to just get as close to that other boat as we could. And I feel like we really pushed it to get there.
Yeah, it was definitely, once we hit about 1,000 meters, I was confident we were going to get second, and it was just about trying to do our best to get the fastest time we could.
And now what does that experience kind of look like when you're out on the river? Obviously you guys are communicating amongst yourself. What is it like on the boat, and what is it like when you're in the middle of a competition like that?
It was definitely like hearing the other boats' coxswains, I feel like pushed us forward. Because we can hear not really specifically what they're saying, but just that they're yelling too, just the same way that ours is. So I feel like it definitely propels you and gives you a little like boost of energy to hear other boats and know that you're with them and you will both be fighting to the end.
Yeah, it's crazy seeing, like, you can see who you're beating, which was something like strange for me, like when I first joined, since I hadn't done this before. And it was very motivating to like know who you were beating. And I loved like the involvement of the coxswain to tell me like how far we were from the next person, because you can't see who's in front of you. So the whole atmosphere, like hearing the coxswains, like getting our coxswain to help us tell us how far we were, stuff like that, was fantastic experience. It was great.
So walk me through. I mean, not rowing is obviously huge in Philadelphia, but for a decent portion of the population, I would imagine it's pretty uncommon. So walk us through, like, what does the typical event look like? You're talking about how you hear your coxswain yelling. What are you guys like so focused in that like you're really not paying attention to what else is going on?
So yeah, it's a 2,000 meter race. So once you get about like 1,000 in, you got to finish it off. So we're all sort of streamlined and focused in on whatever Ava, our coxswain, is saying, and I think that's the biggest thing, is to listen to her calls and move together. And when she calls a power 10 or like a sprint, that's when you go, and you don't really have any choice. You have to do it for the rest of the girls in your boat and make sure that you're putting in your best and your full energy.
Yeah, once you're racing, it really comes down to focusing on what's going on in your boat. You just got to trust the coxswain to tell you what's going on outside of your boat for what you can't see. Obviously, you'll be able to see the boats like behind you, but it's really all about focusing on the person in front of you and making sure you're keeping the timing so the boat can keep going fast.
And given the craziness of this school year with COVID, virtual learning in the fall, etc., how would you describe your season?
I think through it all, we definitely pushed through. We had a quarantine at the beginning of the semester, and that, I feel like, didn't really even set us back. We sort of came back and kept pushing to be able to get to where we needed to be when we needed to be there. And I feel like despite everything, I feel like everybody on the team gave their best effort, and that was definitely shown in our race at Dad Vail's.
Yeah, it was challenging with COVID, like everything else. But I really felt like our team like stepped up to it. I thought we did the absolute best we could with the circumstances, and I thought we had lots of success, like considering that. So it was really rewarding, even though we had pandemic stuff going on.
And obviously, with it being the first season under Coach Garbett, what sort of struggles or monkey wrench, if you will, did that create?
I think it was definitely difficult for some of the girls on the team who had been with the previous coach, just because, they're switching to a completely different situation. I was, coming in as a freshman already expecting, a different coaching, different feeling. So I think it was definitely difficult to sort of maneuver like a different coaching strategy and all of that during COVID, especially. So I think that it was definitely a challenge, but people pushed through.
Yeah, I would say the same. I had like a little bit of experience with the last coach, but I was only with him for like a month before we got sent home from COVID, since I walked on the beginning of the second semester. But I think with everything that was going on, it was as smooth as it could have been. So of course it had its challenges, but.
And, with Coach Garbett coming to LaSalle with an extensive rowing background, and coming from a big time program in Iowa, where he had helped them to 3 straight NCAA championship appearances. What's it been like rowing for him?
It's been amazing. I think that Coach Garbett is definitely going to do some big things and has already done great things for the team. And I think that going forward, it's only going to get better with him.
I agree. I really agree. Like, it was hard, like, coming into this sport. But even like not knowing very much, like, I could tell that he was a great coach. And I'm excited to see what he does with the team.
JRM Supplier Consulting strategic services include competitive sourcing analysis, development of supplier contracts, contract negotiations, supplier contract management, and relationship building. We will help you establish procurement methodologies and utilize best practices for competitive sourcing event development and management. We provide experiential benefits for HR, finance, accounting, marketing, IT, supply chain, sales operations, and legal. For more information, visit us online at jrmsupplierconsulting.com.
Since 1974, Chiron Environmental Design has provided the highest quality landscape design and build services at the most cost-effective prices. Located in Plymouth Meeting and 4 regional offices throughout the greater Delaware Valley, Chiron Environmental Design is prepared to offer professional design, build, and maintenance services to address a wide range of landscape design needs. Chiron maintains specialty divisions in golf, sports, civil engineering, and interiors. To learn more, check us out today at chirondesign.com.
LaSalle fans, are you looking for something to get embroidered or imprinted? If so, let Campus Clothes help you get the look. Whether your team is in the corporate office or on the athletic field, Campus Clothes can supply your team with all its needs. Choose from a variety of t-shirts, uniforms, fleeces, polo shirts, and jackets. Visit us on the web at campusclothes.com. That's campusclothes.com. Or give us a call at 215-357-0892. That's 215-357-0892. Looking good is the first step to playing well. Campus Clothes. Get the look. How would you characterize Coach Garbett, and what would you say he brings to the program?
I would say he's definitely like a relatable figure for a lot of the girls on the team. Nobody's really like scared to talk to him about anything, whether it's rowing, whether it's life, whether it's school. He's always there as somebody to talk to, and I think that opens up a very open relationship for all of the girls on the team, and it encourages people to obviously like listen to his coaching and listen to all the things that he's saying, because he clearly knows what he's talking about, and I think that that's only going to propel us forward as a team.
Yeah, I agree. I really think he's also great at motivating us. I think like when we're stuck in the erg room, he gives us times and goals that are like realistic, and he has like a great way of keeping us pushing throughout the season without feeling like it's impossible what he's giving us. So yeah.
Walk me through what some of your trainings look like, and what are some of the key elements of being a rower? Obviously, you guys do some stuff in the erg room. You're obviously out on the river. I imagine gets pretty cold out there most of the time until it's maybe much later in the season. What tell me a little bit about that.
So this year we spent like I would say the first few weeks or so in the erg room, and then we were able to start going half of our time on the water, half in the erg room, and we slowly built up more water time, which it is really cold in those middle months there. So it's just layers after layers, and you'll eventually shed them off as you start getting warmer and warmer. But yeah, so we have that erg time, and we do different workouts and stuff in the erg room, and then moved into more water and technique stuff in the middle of the semester, and then race pieces by the end.
Yeah, that's basically what he did. He did a lot of training with categories based off our 2K times, which was like helpful, so we knew what to expect with the workouts and stuff like that. But yeah, it was very structured, but I also thought it was really efficient. So yeah.
It sounds like rowing is a sport that requires a lot of communication. Is that something that I imagine during practice and during your time in the erg room, is that something that you guys focus on?
Yeah, definitely. Between coxswains and coaches telling you where you need to be at what time and all of that, like whether it's bus times or whether it's during workouts, like you need somebody there to be telling you what to be doing and where to be. And you really got to follow that.
Yeah, communication is like definitely super important. Like when you're rowing on the water, sometimes you don't know you don't realize what you're doing wrong, or like you don't realize you're off with your timing. So the coxswain can notice and let you know, the coach can tell you. So it's like important to have that communication for things that you can't figure out on your own. So yeah, communication is like definitely important.
So obviously with rowing, it's a little different than traditional sports in the fact that as the event or the competition is going on, you typically have your coach there yelling at you, giving your critiques, calling a timeout, do this, that, or the other thing. It's obviously different in rowing, right? Coach Garbutt's not there with you. He's not there holding your hand. So walk us through like the preparation process. I imagine there's a lot of preparation done on the day of the event and leading up to the day of the event in order for you guys to be as effective as possible.
Yeah. So on practice days, coach is there in a separate boat. He's in a motorboat type thing. And he'll tell us what we need to fix. And then on race day, it's sort of all us. We go out there alone, and we have our coxswain, Ava, sort of keeping up with the second coach idea, where she's the one looking at what is left to fix in our technique, and she'll call things either on the warm-up or during the race that need to get fixed. And she basically acts as a second coach a lot of the times on race days.
Yeah, it really falls to the coxswain a lot of the time, and like that's good. Ava's a great coxswain, and I'm glad she was there in our boat. They really do have to take on that role of second coach, which is like something really interesting, like compared to other sports, like not like rowing. So yeah, a lot of it on race day comes down to the coach will send us off, and then we're just on our own.
Explain to us exactly what a coxswain is, right? Like I think the notion for folks who don't know a lot about rowing is that there's somebody who's typically really small. Talk to us about, is that true? Is that common? Talk to us about kind of what the coxswain's role is and how Ava's been doing for you guys.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Very small people. Direct contrast to all the rowers who are very tall. But yeah, Ava is very small, and basically her job is to both steer the boat and know our race plan. She calls, every call she makes is important to our race plan, whether it's motivational or whether it's steering us in the right way or telling us when to have a sprint. It's super important for her to be there, because without her, we'd probably crash into bushes and trees and everything. So yeah, she definitely has a big job that I think oftentimes goes unnoticed, but it's a big, important job. And I'm so glad that Ava was able to do it for us.
Yeah, the coxswain is like our eyes. We race backwards. We don't see where we're going. So the coxswain's definitely a super important job that I think doesn't get noticed enough.
Sports are back, and at LaSalle, they truly are something special. And boy, come game day, we take it to the next level. Fans are locked in, wearing their finest blue and gold. But it's only a real game day at LaSalle when you have done one more thing. Break out the Hers. Dial up the crunch with Hers Pub Pretzels. Going for the snack win doesn't get easier or tastier. You break out the crunchy dip receiver with Hers Ridge chips. Both go perfectly with cheering on the Explorers to the last second. Game time, halftime, overtime. It's your time to break out the Hers.
Building a great team takes many years of practice. I'm Dennis Pagliotti, and at the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 1 of Pennsylvania, Delaware, we've been practicing since 1865. Check us out at bac-1.org. That's bac-1.org.
The men and women of IBEW Local Union 98 support LaSalle University and the Explorers. From the time of Tom Gola to Lionel Simmons, and to this day, the members of Local 98 have provided the electrical, wiring, and network needs for LaSalle. For more information, look us up online at ibew98.org. You've told us a little bit, Sarah, that you walked on last year right before COVID happened. Lily, obviously, I'm assuming you came to LaSalle with the intention to row. Can you both kind of talk to us about your rowing journey? How'd you get involved? What led you to LaSalle? How did, Sarah, for you, what led you to walk on to rowing at LaSalle? Just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so I started rowing at a local club around me here in Massachusetts right before my freshman year of high school. And I started and I instantly fell in love with the sport. It finally felt like something that I felt comfortable in. I'd swam before and I hated it. So it was nice to find something that I truly connected with. And I feel like when I came to rowing, everything was sort of made sense for me. I'd finally figured out something that was really what I wanted. And I wasn't sure if I was going to try and row in college. And I was looking at some smaller schools and I found LaSalle and I really thought that it would be a good fit for me and where I wanted to go, both in rowing and academically. So that's why I ended up here.
I had never really knew anybody that rowed or like anything in high school. I played basketball and lacrosse. I just was a different kind of athlete, but I had lots of injuries in high school. I had 3 different ACL tears that kind of like screwed things up for like those kind of sports. So when I got to college, I was kind of just expecting to just like go to the gym and stay fit, but my knee doctor said a lot of stuff about rowing would be really good for your knee. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, I still wanted to be competitive. So I thought I'd give it a try and then I really liked it. So that's why I walked on.
So what is it for the two of you? Lily, you mentioned like it made sense for you. It felt right. Like, what is it about the sport of rowing that kind of draws you to it?
I think that for me, it's definitely days like Dad Vail's, not even having to do anything with coming home with a medal. We could have come in dead last and I still would have been so happy with that race. It just felt like we were all connected and we all had the same goal to come out with the best race of the season that we could. So it's definitely for me like the feeling of accomplishment that you get after a race that felt really good.
I really liked rowing because it felt, of course, there's lots of teamwork in the boat, but it's a very big challenge to yourself. Like when I played basketball and stuff like that, like I'd be exhausted after like maybe like 3 hours of the game, but it's crazy now, like racing for 8 minutes and I'm just like, I can't breathe. And it's just like super difficult. And I really like the amount it causes you to push yourself. And you always feel, for me at least, like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like a runner's type of thing. Like it's painful, but like in a good way, like you feel good once you're finished. And it's like, yeah, I've always thought it was like a nice feeling once I finished. And I thought it was very rewarding.
Talk to me a little bit about what drove you both to LaSalle. How's your experience been so far? Obviously, Sarah and Lily, I would imagine you guys have had different experiences at LaSalle. Lily, you were recruited to come to LaSalle to row. Sarah walked on. With Lily being a freshman and Sarah being a sophomore, I imagine things were different your freshman years considering the pandemic. Like, talk to us about your experience at LaSalle, what you've enjoyed, and kind of all of those things I touched on there.
Yeah, so I signed to row at LaSalle during the first few weeks of quarantine. So it was definitely a shift to the end of my senior year. Obviously, everybody wasn't expecting anything like that. So I had visited and done an overnight with the team in like October. Which everybody was like, you're starting all that so early, like you have so much time. And yeah, I just am so happy that I did that. Otherwise,
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a blessing in disguise, right?
yeah, I could have never ended up seeing LaSalle or in person ever. So I'm so happy that I did that early. And I was definitely nervous when I signed, just because I hadn't seen it in so long. But I was definitely excited because I knew the girls that I had met were so great, and like this team was going to be so great for me, and I was super excited to come here.
Lily, would you say that it's lived up to your expectations?
It definitely has. Like, even during a pandemic, like LaSalle has been such a great place for me, and I'm so happy that I was able to find it.
And Sarah, talk to us about your experience.
Well, I came in pre-pandemic. I'm only a sophomore, so I had most of my freshman year before we got sent home. I came in to the honors program, which is a big part of my experience. I've enjoyed that a lot. And I'm also a chemistry major, so that's like really small department. And that has been a really great part of my experience. I get to know my professors, and I think LaSalle has become very like homely, like compared to like bigger schools. I always went to tiny schools, so it was an easier transition. I really find like the faculty and the people at LaSalle to be a lot of the reason why I really liked it. But yeah, I would say that's probably the most enriching part of my experience. And even when COVID hit, I met like really great people here, and it was so easy to like still feel like in contact with people. The professors were really helpful and all of that. So yeah.
Well, listen, Lily, Sarah, I appreciate you both for taking some time. I know you both probably wrapped up with finals and are starting to enjoy your summer a little bit, but I appreciate you guys taking a little bit of your time to join us here on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
All right. That was Lily Henshaw and Sarah Reed, two of our women's rowers. They were a part of the Novice 8, which took home the silver medal at the 82nd Dad Vail Regatta earlier this month. We appreciate the two of them for joining us. We appreciate our sponsor, Steam Fitter. That's going to do it for this episode. We got one more left in the season before we take a little break for summertime. It's going to be our Hall of Athletes episode. We're going to talk to some of our inductees and maybe an alum that was inducted, prior to this class. So stay tuned. That's coming up in just a few weeks. I'm Ed LeFurge, folks. We appreciate you for tuning in. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Inside the L, the podcast. Go Explorers!
In today's economy, good financial advice is critical. That's why it's important to work with a team of dedicated financial advisors committed to listening to you, understanding your concerns, and helping you make sure all aspects of your financial life are aligned. At Crow Wealth Management at UBS Financial Services, we strive to provide advice tailored to your individual circumstances and all you'd like your wealth to achieve. Talk to us about how we can help you embrace your financial future with confidence. Reach out to Chris Crow at 609-677-2243.
It's time to get a health plan that's perfect for times like this. A plan that has you covered for free doctor visits 24/7 with telemedicine and more. Get the plan more people choose than any other. Call 1-855-251-3131 today to get an Independence Blue Cross plan.
Peter Bucksbaum founded Philadelphia Mortgage Company with one goal in mind: to help people make smarter, better informed financial decisions when looking to purchase a home. With 40 years of experience and well over 10,000 clients served, PMC is committed to providing financial solutions and guiding individuals through the mortgage process. For your mortgage need, call Peter Bucksbaum at 215-740-8999 or visit philadelphiamortgage.com.